Okay, it is 2:02 on August 6th, 2024. I will call to order this special workshop of the Grand County Commission on our budget priorities list. Present are Commissioners Evan Clapper, Bill Winfield, Mike McCurdy, Mary McGann, and myself, Jacques Hadler. We also have Associate County Administrator Quinn Hall, and we have our County Finance Officer, Steve Vowles. I'm sorry, Steve. The S on the end. All right, I will turn this over to Steve. Thanks, Steve, for being here and for organizing this.
Well, thank you. Actually, am I coming across okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
All right. Well, the purpose of today's meeting is described here on the screen is that, well, actually, let me back up just a little bit. My first order of business with the county in this new role as finance officer is to kick off the 2025 budget planning. So right now we're working on collecting estimates for 2025 budget from all of the stakeholders, the department heads. So a parallel deliverable here is to work with you all to establish 2025 budget priorities off the top of your head, or as you're talking with the constituents, or by any means necessary, so we can prioritize the 2025 budget priorities. So when it all starts to come together, we've got, informed decision-making criteria to help balance the budget. So today is to establish priority for the 25 items we've listed, collected this from you all through email or through a lot of good work that Quinn and Mallory have done in the past. And I have those documents up here in front of us. And Quinn and I have collaborated on creating this list of 25 priorities. So the objective is really to just put these 25 items in a priority list of critical, high, medium, and low. But keep it really low tech. Let's just go 25% each. So if there's 25, five each in these categories, and then the outcome will be just a list. So we can use this as, in later stages of the budgeting process. Okay. So the first thing I'll put up here is, I'm not sure the whole thing is going to show on the screen.
It's not zooming it or making it larger.
I'm sorry.
The views.
Yeah, to make a make it larger so you can see it. I don't mean less on the screen. That's all right. We can take. All right. So the first thing we should do is go through this list and make sure that there's nothing on the top of your mind that you want to put on the list before we start prioritizing. My suggestion is maybe to go through each one in just 1 or 2 minutes to make sure we all understand it on the same page of what it really means, and then make notes as we go through this, and then we'll come back and prioritize it. All right. Fund county operations at least to the level of last year, if it's pretty straightforward. You can raise your hand if there's any questions. Provide cost of living adjustments or maintain or improve the current benefits for all employees. And this is not a priority list right now. This is just a list.
Yeah.
Fund the responsible recreation programs at least at current levels. I'll confess, I'm not sure what that means, but it doesn't mean I need to know that. But does it?
I think so.
Mean something to you all? Okay.
Yes.
This one's a little specific, but use some specific amount of money.
I think you missed number 4, Steve. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh. Rebuild the mosquito abatement / weed department bill. I've heard it a couple times now. We've been here a couple of weeks. I'm sure you guys have heard it as well. Use this 58,000 and change and tax rollback for conservation easement. But I got something here. For the easement of Three Canyons Ranch in the booklet, specifically these 4 things. This is very specific. Anybody have questions? Ask each other on this one. And I'm going to look to Quinn for any details here, but
we're going to come back and prioritize.
yeah, we're going to come back. Okay. Yeah. Right now we're kind of just getting a general idea and seeing if there's something that you feel is missing. Developed a phased flood control plan. already on phase one. Add to the jail for physical or mental medical treatment. Build a solar plant power at the airport. Build the Spanish Valley multi-use path. Extend the Highway 128 bike path from where it ends to Grandstaff. And there was a question here, maybe we can just answer this as a context. Is this funded right now by UDOT? That's just,
There's been funding put in place, yeah, but we actually haven't talked about the second part of that, and that's the maintenance
Yeah.
aspect of it, once it is built. I think
okay.
that's not gonna be an issue this year, but in the future it will be, right?
Well, I guess when we prioritize this, we'll put that in context, or sure. Yeah.
Right.
Hire part-time evidence tech. Build a new county building. This is grandiose one, and or update, optimize office meeting space. You know, maybe that could be separated, but you know, a grander vision, or maybe and there was even a suggestion on here of buying the title company. I imagine it's the title company that sits over here in the corner there. So don't own the entire block. Build the EV electric vehicle charging stations. And there was a question about update from prior years. Do we know of any funding that happened from prior years here?
My understanding was that just kind of stalled out last year, right?
That's what I remember.
What's his name, Mr. Garner was involved in that. I have heard people.
That's right.
So
Was it, did we set aside funding for it?
I think we did.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think there was some tax credits and some grants and then half and half, and then it just kind of fizzled.
Is it
Our
some,
portion of the match was supposed to be property that Edward Lee was considered.
So it's okay to say it's not funded in prior year. Okay. Conduct a water study. There is a question mark here as well, that I think Lynn came.
Yeah, was this the aquifer study that we were doing? Do you guys remember?
I don't know.
there was a lot of like,
Because there was an aquifer study and then the salinity study were two separate studies, right?
yeah. And then there was all the monitoring hardware or devices.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that one. You're right.
Yeah. And I feel like that was kind of like, oh, this is the first step and then there's more to come. But I hadn't heard if that even came online, like this other stuff. Or if it's-
Grant also, yeah. Working on it.
Okay.
The other
Portion
thing
of it,
we
I
talked about was, they putting in, stations and such, so that we can become clearer on how much we are using. You know, closer, we understand more how much of the, you know.
Mary, I'm having trouble understanding you.
You know, it's because I'm not using my mic. It's because my mic is about a half a mile away from me, Kevin. I
Okay,
apologize.
well, now you sound very loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you. When, you know, we did the water study to determine how much water was coming out of our aquifer. And we wanted to make sure, then we were working on trying to figure out how much it was being recharged every year. As part of that, and then we wanted to make, our long-term goal was to make sure that we weren't overusing our aquifer. We never wanted to begin to mine it. And I wish they were here from the, I have to go back and look at the meetings. And so then there were steps that had to come in place in order to get to the point that we can make sure we never are overusing our aquifer. And one of them was, a lot of them was gauging stations. Better.
So I think that was the groundwater monitoring study, and I believe that that was in progress in 23. And then there was another one where we were gonna, with the presentation from Mike Wachowski about the mixing of the two different aquifers, and there was another one that was a salinity study down in the wetlands.
Yeah, that was
And
just.
I don't, basically without Trish here, I'm not sure which water study we're talking about, that's all.
Right.
Maybe we can have some kind of placeholder around that about water priorities or something, so.
Well,
I think
our,
that
our,
there's, like you're saying, a handful of different projects.
and I'd like to know, I'd like to go back, because we haven't had, people from the state for a while here, to see what the next step is. So that we can start funding that. What is the next step to get us on our goal? To be able to know how much we can use yearly. And I think part of that was knowing how much we are using yearly.
Right.
I think there was some real holes in that as well.
Well, we're gonna take a
It's so
deeper dive into
complicated.
each one of these when we
Yeah.
get to them, I think.
It's okay.
Well, I suggest we keep this as kind of a general program
General water,
study, not
right.
put any specific things to it
Okay.
right now. Okay. 15, remove economic diversification and focus solely on visitation. You know, confess I don't really know what that means, but is it clear to you?
It's clear.
Build the pickleball and playground. I do understand that one.
That was, yeah, okay.
Okay, replace library's HVAC. It's come up, I've heard this a few different times already. Replace the OSTA fire suppression systems and some other updates that have been noted in some of the detailed worksheets I have behind this. Perform EOC building updates, and this is in
That's
some of the
even.
spreadsheets we've got behind this. Build a new public safety building. Including storage. Revise emergency operations plan. Sure, I understand that, but. Repave Sand Flats Road. I believe that's through a grant, because I saw this. Assess the impact fees and capital facilities plan. And help me out here, is this two separate things or are they correlated somehow?
No, they correlate. The capital facilities plan informs the fees that we collect on impact fees. And then once those impact fees are levied, we store them in the county and spend them on future impacts, future capital facilities. And we put that out to bid in May. It's been kind of a slow roll, but I do believe we finally got the independent contractor agreement with legal. Hopefully that'll be before the next meeting.
Yeah, I know that, so before there was the question about, there's like a placeholder for parks that right now is zeroed out. But if we were collecting impact fees to fund parks, that could be the kind of stuff that is used for maintenance on bike paths.
Yeah, and that was definitely in the RFP. So hopefully will be addressed in the impact fee analysis.
Okay. Then 24 and 25, and I'm not sure I want to go there yet. These are worksheets that Mallory have been done in the past. And there's just a lot of information there, so I think we're gonna get bogged down if we go to that. But so I suggest we go through and prioritize these top few. Depending on how much time we have, we could go look at these worksheets, sheets, and see if anything, jumps out.
I have one to add.
Okay,
There is monies next year being provided by the state to improve or rebuild our Children's Justice Center. And we've attempted to make it so it's soundproof, and they're finding it with the buildings, the way the building's built, it can't happen. So we almost need to find another place. So, but the thing about it is, there is going to be funding next year from the state just earmarked for child's justice centers. So
I heard the county would have to provide property.
something like that, we would, or that would make it cheaper. I think that was what we could get the money to do it. If we had the land, that would make it less expensive. And it's not gonna cover it all. There's a nice healthy grant that will give us some help with getting that done. It'd be a lot easier if we had a piece of property, because then we wouldn't have to buy that.
Put it on.
I also had one to add or consider adding, and maybe Quinn or Jacques can help me out here, but there was a lot of discussion a year ago during budgeting about an update to the Trails Master Plan, especially focusing on trails, within Spanish Valley. And I think we ended up either not funding it or only partially funding it. So I just wanted to consider, keeping that on the list.
Well, didn't planning and zoning get a grant for that? It right at the.
I guess I
like
just
a
haven't heard anything about it, so if it's already funded, then no need to put it on again.
It was kind of like an 11th hour grant. Do you guys remember that?
Now I'll have to check up on that.
That Elisa and Maddie secured right before we were going into the final budget. I don't know. We could definitely check on that.
Okay, well, yeah, so if we've already got some grant money, then never mind.
And then the priorities from department heads, is that in the spreadsheets or is
No,
that?
I did not go to department heads yet for priority, because I know what they would tell me. Well, I mean, actually, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. At this stage, I'm just collecting estimates from the department heads, so we haven't even had a chance to have their input on priorities. Sure.
For full disclosure, I did call some department heads to ask them what their concerns were. So a few of those are on there, because I felt like I don't know what the needs are. So I called quite a few of the department heads to help me create that list.
But hence, this activity preceding the budget advisory boards where department heads will introduce their priorities.
Right.
Through their own estimates.
Yeah.
And we'll have some, informed criteria to help manage that process. I mean, even my initial, work with the departments, naturally, everybody's got their own needs and it'll show up in their estimates, which will be coming shortly. In fact, I think I'm gonna get an update in next meeting where we're at, but just for context, I've met all department heads. They're all working on the budget estimates in a worksheet. Gabe comes back next week. We're going to drill into the details to come up with what's considered a proposed budget by September 1, which will then go through the official budget advisory board sessions to be balanced.
Great.
Such. Okay. All right. Well, let's go through this one more time. Again, I backed off on the whole sticky note idea. It wasn't really a working session for this. So maybe we can the choices are. Actually, maybe I should ask you. I would kind of like 4: critical, high, medium, or low. And or high, medium, low is the other alternative.
I think for me, some of the things that's always useful is to see, which funding sources are available for the different priorities, because some things are going to be in direct competition with each other, and so things that aren't competing for each other might have different priorities that way. And then similarly, I think some of them are kind of like step A, B, or C. Like, yeah, wouldn't it be great if we owned the whole block and we built this whole new building, and then this building could become the public city, and so there's like the pie in the sky kind of thing, and then there's the like, well, here's like the
I think this was intended and correct me if I'm wrong, just to kind of be a first step and get these prioritized out, then determine funding source through the budgetary process and adjust this as we go.
yeah.
They did set 4 decision criteria for this. One is actionable, attainable, measurable, and assignable to the budget. And one that I think you might have alluded to is attainable. Like, if we may be wasting a priority if we throw in something that there's no funding for and it won't even happen. Yeah. So the attainable factor here. But I think we could still, to what you said, I think it's okay just to market a priority, high, medium, or low, or critical, high, medium, or low, just as a starting point. Because if something's not attainable, then it'll just fall out anyway. Right. But let's try to take this into consideration as we do it, as a team.
And Stephen, I had one more question. The price tags on these items, vary quite a bit. I mean, some we might be able to fund entirely with grants. Others, like, a new county building, are very expensive. I mean, how do you vision, it just seems a little bit odd to compare a, $10,000 item with a $10 million item and say, well, one was given a slightly higher. So I'm just curious how you view this prioritization as informing our eventual spending choices, since the price tags are very different.
I think we should all weigh in on this, but my initial concern is, let's look at priority right now, meaning how important it is to you. Is it keeping you up at night? It's a problem we have to solve, trying to put budget dollars aside. It may be unrealistic, but my suggestion is, let's put importance, or the ability to solve a problem first and maybe dollars second. But I suggest your feedback on that. Anyone? Kevin? I'm sorry, this was Kevin, right?
Yes.
Kevin, how would you answer your own question?
I'm not sure. I mean, I do think, I don't know that I have a preferred solution to that, but it does, once budget season starts, we've got a very large number of budget line items to decide on, and I think there's room for improvement over what we've done in the past. But I think it's tricky, and I think weighing, it comes up even within, like, our drainage projects. Do we spend, millions of dollars on one project, or do we fund many different, smaller size projects? That's a tough decision to make.
I feel like Steve is just trying to get a feel for where we stand on some of these items. I mean, clearly, I think we all have opinions on different ones that are on this list and where we should be at it. And going into the budget season and the budget advisory board meetings, I think it would give him a little bit of an idea of how to be better prepared for that, to get our opinion on some of these, for lack of a better word, pet projects or whatever that each one of us thinks is important. And some of them, I mean, we can go through here and eliminate some of them. Like, in my mind, number 8, build solar power at the airport. I think we're voting on that today, and it's $0, right? It's nothing out of pocket. So if some of that information might not be in his realm, and working through this list will at least let him have an idea of where commissioners stand on different things.
That seems pretty reasonable to me. That was kind of the intent, right, Steve? Yeah, to begin with.
So do we agree that we can just go by
through and go critical, high,
critical importance rather than?
critical, high,
No.
medium,
Yeah.
low?
Yeah, and you want to, and as far as the 25%, so you basically wanted, I don't know, there's 25, like 6 in each category, more or less.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
So you said 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. So you want even spread throughout the category,
Should
then we
are
kind
we
of.
gonna-
It might all come out being.
Yeah.
No, that's kind of what I thought too, Bill. But then, but Steve actually did put in the thing 25%, 25%.
Well, I was trying to build
Yep,
a,
that's a priority.
build
Yep, that's a
a
priority.
chart.
Yes. Okay.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, and I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. If everything comes out, I'm going back. I'm gonna try to keep it in the 25, 25, 25.
Okay.
So we
But
might
let's
have
see
to go,
let's see how it goes.
Okay.
we
Let's
might
do
have,
a pass and we may have to come back.
we might have to come back and say, we gotta get rid of some of these critics.
Yes, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. Okay.
A bill chart. All right. All right, first one, fund county operations, at least at the level of last year. Let's start with critical. How many criticals?
I think that's pretty.
I think the bottom
That's
number should.
Basically, I think
about the
it's
same.
like, yeah,
When it's,
All right,
Keep it funded at the level
keep
it
it,
is.
yeah. I don't, yeah.
as I type this, if anybody sees I'm not counting right or something.
no, but I mean,
Yeah.
just like to flesh that out a little more, when I say like the bottom number, like I think that there may be some departments that are a little thick and some that are a little thin, and
Yeah.
so I'm not necessarily saying I think it's critical that every department stays where they're at, it's hard for me to imagine trimming much from any of them.
Yeah.
But I don't think that the bottom number at the end for the full
Yeah.
budget
Yeah.
needs to be.
And I appreciate you saying that, because when we get into the budget advisory boards, my style is going to be to steer away from just maintaining what's in 2024 and move it to 2025, because that's what you're used to. But to start applying priorities,
Okay.
assigning scarce or limited resources to goals and priorities. So it may not be exactly just what you got last year.
Sure.
Well, in our budget advisory board meetings last year were presented with a 6% growth, a 3% growth, or flat. And there were quite heated discussions about which one of those to go with. And I do believe that we ended up agreeing to go with flat, and that's clearly what's happened, even to the point that it might be negative in the county. So we want to be very careful that we are not pushing for something that might not be actually happening on our revenue side.
Okay, that's a good note. I don't even have an assumption about what that's going to be, other than HR. For the salary cuts. We have to come up with an estimation of COLA, but otherwise everything is just
Right.
in the beginning stage.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's go to, all right, they're talking about cost of living adjustments. Provide the cost of living adjustments to maintain or improve the current benefits for employees.
Critical.
High to critical, I think.
I would agree critical with talking
Maintain, yeah.
We're not seeing a year where we want to be running around and out the bonuses.
Yeah. Provide, COLA, and maintain,
Maintain, right.
or
I'm
improve the
going
cost.
I'm gonna take that out, because that is a huge distinction. Maintain, critical, maybe you could, improve if possible, but anyway, but the critical is focused on maintain.
I agree.
Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay. Fund the responsible recreation programs at least at current levels. Critical,
Give it a
It comes
medium,
down to,
medium to high
High.
personally.
High or medium.
okay, let's go high and vote on high.
it comes down to a source, for me. I wanna continue the responsible recreation programs, but, it's gonna be a different funding source this year. State legislation is gonna point us in the direction they want.
I would call it a high priority.
High priority.
Go high. And high with, I feel like there's a footnote to this, but is it high, or should we just keep it simple right now?
Yeah, keep it simple.
Sure.
Keep it simple. Rebuild the mosquito abatement / weed department building.
It's a bit of Sanfist.
Oh, it's the one, oh, yeah.
It's
but there's-
high, it's either high or critical.
I think there's too much to wait.
Sure, yeah, no, we'd love for you to
There's
win.
two options here. One is to kind of remodel and rebuild the office area. And maybe look at a new shed structure for storing some pesticides. The other option, of course, that would be much longer term, is to rebuild the whole thing. Because that's the old road shed, it's been there forever. And so I would say that if the commission actually wants to look at rebuilding that entire building, that needs to be a multi-year saving up. And prioritizing that in the budget, the savings to actually get that building built. I don't think it's obviously far less expensive than a courthouse, but a short-term solution would be to kind of remodel that office area. Mosquito abatement, the weeds department are kind of. 2 years ago, they were bickering over the office space, and that's calmed down significantly, but there's still some kind of remodel that we could do in there that would be quite affordable, I think. Maybe a couple of new sheds out there that would
Now, isn't the roof
really
going?
ease the tensions. And,
Yeah,
The roof's going?
I think,
yeah, it does need to be rebuilt. That's
Yeah.
a big ask for a 1 year thing.
and in terms of the office space stuff, I mean, like, I know Sandflat's got tired of waiting for us to build a county building, so they bought their own trailer. And if we do build a county building, maybe they don't need that trailer anymore, maybe that could go up there. Then there was big questions about recycling being moved out onto the highway, and does that create more space up there? And so this is one of those ones where it's like, oh,
There's a
there's
lot of
The
moving
there's a
domino.
lot of moving parts, and what's it gonna look like?
But so if we commit, even if, and correct me if I'm wrong, but even if we made this low, but set as a priority to set aside a little bit of savings for the next few years, then we could look at something in 27, 28 for creating some sort of forward-looking solution at that point.
I could see putting it as, begin the process of saving for the rebuild, begin the process. You know, begin putting aside, and I think we'd have to decide approximately how much it's gonna cost, and then say how, in what year do we wanna do this? And then we could have a number put next to it that we're gonna save this much money for the next blah, blah, blah years so that we can rebuild it, blah, blah, blah.
Did they have critical needs with like the chemical washes, drainages? Did that get addressed or was that?
No, that has not been addressed. Storage is not ideal. This might be a little choose your own
Okay.
adventure sort of thing, like.
Well, I did change the nature of this one to begin saving, which is completely different, rebuilding. So if we're just gonna talk about begin saving for building, let's prioritize that.
In that same begin saving, we gotta know
Very high priority.
Yeah, make
at
it
least an
critical.
estimate on what we're gonna,
Take priority.
you know, 5 years from now.
Thinking towards the future.
Yes, because it has to be done, so critical.
Okay, medium, high,
Think high.
critical, critical.
Yeah, I'd say high. We're on that.
I'd call it high, but because we're looking at, so if you divide it out, you're looking at 6 items in each category, right? More or less.
5 or 6.
So we can always go back and look at it. So,
All right, let's put, I'm hearing high. Yeah, we can always come back to this for sure. This is. All right, next one up, maybe someone else can. But anyway, the Three Canyons Ranch easement.
I'm not sure what the 58,000 refers to.
Do you know
This has gotta be the first thing, right?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know what the tax rollback is.
I don't either.
Do we have background information on this? Okay,
So would that mean, so if it's tax rollback, would that cost the county anything? Or is that,
Maybe we
match?
should wait till Trish is available to discuss this.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it was Trish's, I mean,
yeah,
I might put it at medium today, so we.
okay, let's. put it
Medium or
up
low.
today.
or TBD even? TBD.
We probably
Actually-
need, we probably need something in the low and medium department,
Right.
so let's put it in the low and medium department.
Statistically, we need some numbers. All right. Developed phased flood control plan.
We have a flood plan, so is this like I don't know the current status of the flood plan.
Well, I think we're gonna have to phase it.
Right, we would phase it, and we have to work with the city on it as well.
Cause we can't, it's too, what was the cost they brought to us once? It was astronomical.
I remember that too, yeah, it was crazy.
And so but I think we should look at, and even Dan said then that he felt like we should start looking at phasing, looking at the whole thing and then saying, okay, well, we can do this and that's going to do the greatest good right away or something.
I think, the way this one reads, it's about a plan, not constructing it. And I do think, further researching our options would be a good idea. So maybe if it was rephrased to, continue to develop our flood control plans or something like that.
I would think you would want to definitely work on this with our floodplain administrator,
that's right.
who is Bill Hulse. So
Yeah.
this really kind of falls into his department over there. He's got a lot of this already set out. It just needs to be put on paper, is my guess.
So
This is Bill and,
Bill Hulse,
yeah, or Bill.
probably Bill Hulse, yeah.
All right, well, given that there's a plan, how would we prioritize that? That'd be obviously.
It's highly critical.
I
As
think
they
it's
keep
very
happening.
critical.
correct.
Aaron, critical, okay, you might have more criticals than.
Right.
25%, but that's good.
That's
Let me go
okay.
back.
We can go back and look at it.
Everything that gets a medium suddenly is a low.
Great.
Okay, this one's specific to the jail, but to add I guess, a room or something for medical treatment.
Several of these points are gonna be wrapped. This is
Like
one of
this
the
one-
ones that's gonna snowball.
Well, wouldn't this one kind of be wrapped in with the public safety building? as
Yeah,
well?
public safety
Yeah.
building, courthouse, I mean,
Yeah,
that one's gonna be a bigger snowball.
The way I look at that is they're asking for just an additional room right now, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of like a remodel, not even the
Yeah.
entire building. I would say it's pretty critical. I've heard Trish mention it. I've heard also people from the sheriff's department that
Yeah.
that
And I
there's
talked-
pretty high need for, it. And if it's just a remodel, I would put it at the higher critical side as well.
I talked to him.
Yeah.
And they said that it's been a real problem because they've had some needs and they can't even come close to fulfilling them right now. And
I think there might be some requirements for housing state inmates. And I don't know if this is part of that or if it's not, but I know that we kind of have like a higher level of care for inmates.
Yeah.
Because we're getting paid to house other people's inmates, and it needs to be up to a certain standard, and I'm not sure if this is that, if it's.
that's not what he said when I
Okay.
talked to him. This is why I put this here. He just said that there's been some real there's been some issues in the jail that have been very critical and very difficult. Having a room where a physician could go in,
I-
examine and work with the patient or see how critical they are mentally. Do they need to be hospitalized? That there's no place to do that. So they need a room.
I think it's important, but if we're gonna redo everything again in another year or two, it's like, I would be interested in how much this is gonna cost to.
Maybe an update from the sheriff on this is probably the way to look at it.
I'll just make that note. I'll mark it as a medical room is critical, but I think make the note that it's dependent on the overall outcome of any facilities.
And maybe see what the sheriff feels about it. I mean, it's clearly falls under his part.
Yeah.
I had talked to the sheriff. I think I got almost all of them.
Okay. I think we already established that this one maybe is just a not applicable.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but I think it should just go.
I think that's likely to go away tonight.
Okay. Build the Spanish Valley multi-use.
So that one, we do have funding for that. Bill and I and Quinn just got an update on that yesterday. We're looking at the funding, we're looking at seeing whether it will roll over to next year. Likely it will. And if we're building it out at the rate that we're doing now, we might not need that next year. Is that what we talked about? But then again, we talked about moving some money around for different things like flood mitigation where that applies to this also. So this is a little bit of a nebulous one, I guess,
But in progress.
but in progress. So do we need to
Because it's
put,
already, all right.
It's in progress, but it just seems like it's been in progress for a long time.
It has, and it's gonna continue to be in progress, I think, for quite some time, but where it is moving
It's
forward.
moving.
When we're making progress on it, I think that higher critical is probably, if we wanna see that move forward.
high?
But not budget wise, though, really, is it? Don't
No.
have money available.
We have
so
money
It's not a critical need, it's in finances.
Yeah.
It's a critical as in there's pressure from the public to
Get it done.
No, that's a good
Okay.
point too, because it's not,
And
it's not necessarily a
funding's not
budgetary
the issue.
concern.
Okay.
So as
Well,
far as,
given this is a budget focused priority list, if we can leave this one alone right now, it's just in progress.
Was there a thing where it's like, we could build portions of it now, but in the long run it would.
We
be more
are, I
expensive?
think we're starting in town and moving south. We're
Well,
definitely, kind of first phase is gonna be, I think, to the four-way, and then we're gonna go down to like Beaman.
And
and then
so the
potentially-
four-way is all the easements and stuff dialed, so it's like,
it's not dialed.
It's definitely not dial, but it's on it's on the path.
yeah.
Great.
All right, I'll just say that's not a budget concern, it's in progress. The next up is the River Road bike path.
And that's
It's already-
funded at this point. I don't think we need to worry about that from a funding standpoint, but it is the maintenance thing we're gonna have to look at. I don't know, probably at some point, but maybe not next year.
12.5.
That's right.
It had a $15 million engineer's estimate, so I'm not totally sure if it's 100% funded, but it's close. It's at 12.5.
But so, and in my conversations with Sean in the maintenance department, you know, like this extra 3/4 of a mile probably isn't that big. I think we talked about this several meetings ago, but
Right.
as we get because we went on the hook then to maintain the path from the 313 up to State Park and then the Spanish Lake path bikeway, so bike pathway. So as we get those built out, we need to just be aware that our financial commitment will be to hire more staff to maintain those pathways. That's.
Cause actually, it might be pretty simple for him to do this half a mile more or less.
Yeah,
I think, does he
is
do
gonna
this
happen.
section
And this won't
after?
be a big deal this year.
You know
Sean
that
just wanted to make
short-
sure that everybody knew that.
Is Sean responsible for that little short section that goes from Grandstaff Canyon to,
Yeah.
you know, where Porcupine comes in and that little bit where it pops up onto the road?
Oh, that's a good
In
question.
other words, the east side of the gap.
He's in charge of some of it, 'cause he's supposed
He's
to.
definitely in charge all the way out to the
To the end of the current.
into the current paved path. So
But yeah, as we years down the road, as we start building more and more of these paths, we're gonna have to have more maintenance staff. That's all. So for like as far as funding goes for next year, it's low. It's
There's funding right now in the active trails and transportation for maintenance on this path.
yes, for sure, and we use that. But we just as we get more and more path built, we're gonna need more and more
Okay.
maintenance staff.
so that's either low or yeah. Just throw it
Well,
low.
let's put it as a low. That's what I'm hearing here. 'Cause it
Right.
Looks like it's gonna happen through other sources here.
Yeah.
Okay. Part-time evidence tech. Imagine that's with the attorney or the sheriff.
Sheriff, that's what Jameson said, that if he could have one wish for next year, his priority would be to have hire a part-time evidence tech to deal with the evidence, to organize the evidence that they have, and then to catalog the new evidence they get and figure out a way to maintain it. Because that's what he
Is
said.
that posted now? Did we create that position? I thought there was like somebody.
He
lined
came
up
and
for it.
talked about it, but I don't think it ever got beyond the talking stage.
I always like to see all the position
New
requests. at
proposed
once, you know,
yeah, proposed position.
But you can see that as high.
As you come back and look at it, budget season.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
High, and just follow the standard procedure for presenting personnel requests.
Yeah, it's useful, rather than seeing them department by department, when we kind of see like. county wide, you know, because
Yeah,
everybody would like, to go.
yeah.
That's the tough part of my work.
Yeah, that's right, because you're on your list. All right, this one, I love this one.
That's like three things in one. Huh?
Yeah, well, let's actually decide if we need to separate this, because it is a completely different thing. Build a new county building is much different than update or optimize office meeting space.
I would almost just go ahead and put it at critical and then start figuring out a plan.
Yeah.
Seeing what we can afford.
Okay, I got one critical.
I would say the critical need is to get a plan and to show what the costs are, and considering that it isn't likely to happen in 24 or 25, we need to know what that's gonna cost the county if it's built in 26 or 28. Because a $12 million building 10 years ago went a long ways, and right now, I mean, this could be a 40 or a 50,000 or $50 million dream, and I think we need to get a number. What is this, a number that it's gonna take to do this? So a plan would be critical to me, and then the other two would fall somewhere under that, in my opinion.
Well, I like your observation there. You should always start with the plan, but still critical. I mean, you agree that we should just make. a
Yeah, I
plan
mean,
as-
where is that with we hired those folks to
The space needs assessment.
What did we hire?
the space needs assessment, and so, but then
I'm trying to remember if they ever delivered a
They
final
never have.
product or
When was
not.
that?
Did we get assessed?
It started under Chris and it just like rolled very, very slowly.
Yeah.
And we did meet with the gentleman and we went through the evidence room at the jail in March.
We want to start and see if we can
Yeah,
get
let's see
money
if we-
flipped out.
Okay, I'll follow up on that.
But and then that was supposed to dovetail into design and stuff, right? Like it was the same bid? Or was it,
I don't think there was an engineering component to that. It was just the space needs assessment. Like, you guys need X amount of space for these many offices and this many personnel, and looking out 20 years in the future, you'll need this much space.
yeah,
I don't think there was a design component involved with it.
I would kind of go ahead and put that out for, a need is the design plan.
Or
Because-
the needs too.
Yeah, cause this
Well,
has,
that's what it's
it
gonna
has
take
been the
to
whole
come
time.
up with a number is to
Yeah,
have
but I mean, we've been
somebody-
talking about it for 8 years.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been, you know, and it's
Never goes
it's still not a drawing, and you can't put a price tag on it without a drawing, so it's like.
Yeah. And I may be expressing ignorance in how the county works here, but if a new building, it's not like something we're gonna fund in 1 year.
No,
No,
we'd have to decide. You know, that's why I'm wondering if we should separate it, because maybe wouldn't be that expensive to look what we have and optimize the space better. You know,
Yep. Even this plan, the plan isn't necessarily build a new building, but a plan to take what we have today, optimize it, plan for the future, and then build a new building.
Yeah.
I mean, just the facilities, office space utilization.
Yeah,
office space utilization plan. I like that.
there's a, you know, a lot of funding through loans, grants, and sort of things, and we need to, you know, if we're gonna go to the CIB for something like this, we need to have a pretty precise plan before we show up, so. Every year that we don't have one, it's getting more expensive and squeezing everybody else in the meantime, standing by.
Doesn't this shift? I mean, the building of the county building shifts if we built a operations center,
Public safety.
not
building.
public safety. I mean, half the entire building, it's.
Right.
it's underneath.
Yeah, it's true.
It was just a staffing analysis,
Okay,
like how much staff we'll have in X, Y, Z number of years.
and does that come with like a square footage when it says space, or is it? So are you looking at an actual report, or is it,
Yeah,
yeah, I thought,
I'll have to dive into it.
okay, yeah,
Okay.
The draft is
Like this.
all it is the draft report.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're gonna mark this as critical, but we're gonna refine the scope here, so I like where we're at.
Yeah.
Build a plan to start with. Let's start with the optimization of current facilities to replacing them. Time.
we need more, basements for our.
I was just saying, get mad.
Yeah.
Go mess in Matt's basement.
All right, EV charging stations. And I made the note that they weren't funded in prior years, so
The city just built those ones out at Lions Park, so we definitely, those have come online recently. I
I would
don't,
say that, I would say medium low.
I'd say,
for next
I love the idea of EV, but also in the county, I mean, I think in the city, unless we,
Yeah, I threw this on there and I was just kind of trying to remember things that
Yeah.
didn't make the cut in the past.
Right.
And like, oh, is it worth revisit? So
Yeah.
I could put this at low, especially with all the other ones coming online in the area.
Yeah.
But
So last year we collaborated on a UAC plan to get, you know, a significant federal match for EV charging stations. Does anyone know the status of that?
I don't think we have an updated status, Kevin, but we do have, it just fell all apart because the company that was looking to do that has kind of dropped off the radar.
Okay, that answers my question. Thanks.
yeah, I'm hearing low.
well,
Conduct
It's
general water program.
just before we completely wipe that off the table, could somebody check on that UAC
Yeah,
or like?
I'll
what the-
follow up on that.
Sweet. Sorry.
All right, the new revised general water program study.
I would say that's a high, I think, for several years running, we've been funding studies of the aquifer and other water related things. And I think continuing to understand the situation better is a high priority.
We give it a high.
Yes. It's critical. It's high because it's critical for our future planning.
I would put the caveat in there that it's high as long as we're working with the state engineer to come up with something that actually benefits his department so that it brings more accurate information. to
Work
him.
with Mark.
What's that?
Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we always have. We've been pretty, he's been part of the process from the beginning.
Okay. Number 15, move economic diversification and focus solely on visitation.
Is that a budgetary?
That's not a
Concern.
budgetary.
It was kind of also going with this, like, where's all the different funding coming from and where's it going, like which pot is funding what? I would rather talk about it in like a big, broad sort of discussion than like a knee-jerk reaction and like, whack-a-mole sort of thing. And so as we talk about funding new positions and job descriptions and all that sort of stuff, I just kind of wanted it on the table with, looking at it holistically instead of chasing things around.
Let me ask a silly question, because I'm the new guy, so I get to do that. Is this how TRT dollars are allocated?
There was a change.
Yeah, there was only a
Yeah.
couple 3 years. I think it was 2 or 3 years we could spend it.
Two and a half.
2.5. And now it's gone. Diversification funding is gone.
So we do have a revenue issue here, that some departments are gonna have a loss of revenue stream.
No, they lost it last year.
Oh, they lost it.
Yeah,
Okay, so not a 2025 budget. issue.
right.
Since I think since that doesn't fit the criteria, it's measurable,
Okay,
such, I give it a low priority. Or take it off.
I would say, to me, low priority means if we had enough money, this is something we would do. And I don't think that's the case with this one. So
I think it just,
I just,
yeah,
it
I'm
sounds
hearing
like
take
a
it
policy
off.
idea rather than,
it's mute. Diversification money is no longer.
I think one of the things is like before we had the diversification funded by TRT, there was a time when economic development lived in the planning and zoning department. And that was they were kind of wearing two very different hats. And so then it was kind of moved over to what was then the travel council and kind of rebranded. And so it's for years now, it's not a high enough workload to be a full-time, or it hasn't been a high enough workload to be a full-time position for any individual. And so it's kind of like always been kind of added into somebody else's to-do pile. And so I think I had thrown this on here because is it worth discussing? Do we want a position that just does this if we're not gonna have the people that are doing it now working on it? Who is gonna do it? Does that department need another person that's kind of doing this half-time and doing it? So that's all this was. It was, and that's kind of why I saw it as a budgety kind of thing, because I saw it as like a possible position addition or possibly even department addition. So
I would agree with Evan. I think this is important, and I guess curious if we are going to continue with the downsizing of advertising for tourism. We'd better find some money. I guess it almost feels like we don't want to look for economic diversification unless somebody else pays for it. I really
Well, I
think that
think
this
they-
is an important role here, and we can't sit back and just push this to the side because we can't use TRT funds.
Okay, like it.
I think what the state now is calling their department is instead of economic, they're calling it economic opportunity. Where, we work with the state and Colette, we work closely, her name is Colette, we work really closely with the state on finding grants and finding funding and finding ways to improve the economy in Moab, not just tourism, but to just overall a general economic outlook, you know, of the community and what is the infrastructure needed to have a strong economy, because there's a lot of infrastructure there. And so I think if we wanted to say, I don't, you know, because we have to do some work or we won't get those grants. Those grants involve the need to have an economic opportunity board. And that board is supposed to be focusing on ways to make the entire economy of Moab as a whole, not just focusing on visitation. So I you know, and so I don't know.
I'm kind of with Bill, and I think that some, you know, somebody that was just focusing on this, like the work with, you know, supporting childcare in the community, and I think that did a great amount of developing workforce and that sort of stuff, and you know, whether that's somebody in the administrator's office, you know, and not that the current folks have a bunch of time, you know, do we put another body in there with all this extra space that we have, you know, or what? So that's kind of, I think it's worth I think it's, for me, it'd be like a high priority of figuring out what we want economic diversification to look like.
But again, to me, this sounds like a policy question more than a budget question. You know, it's very hard to assign a dollar amount to number 15. And even 2 months from now, it's still going to be hard to assign a dollar amount. So if this list is about, you know, prioritizing different things and we might spend money on it, it just doesn't seem like a good fit for that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the policy would be like, you know, if we were gonna make this you know, if our priority was to prioritize economic diversification, we were gonna hire 6 full-time people and we were gonna fully benefit them, and we were gonna, you know, start building shopping malls or whatever, that you know, it takes some commitment financially to make that happen. And yeah, I agree that it is a policy discussion, but we could say that we want things, but unless we put a dollar towards it, it doesn't really happen much. So
Really, wasn't that Mr. Frederick-Gill's title, economic development? I mean, are we basically saying that we're gonna phase that out now? I guess I don't quite understand where you're coming from, Kevin and Mary. I think this is still extremely important to the county, and especially to a huge amount of the citizens here that would like to see less tourism, but we can't shut off tourism and stop looking for another economic diversification source. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
There are all sorts of things that are important to the county but aren't on this list because they're not budget prioritization issues. So I just, it seems like.
I know they've set up now, help me, they're tracking the economic opportunity or development department, or whatever we want to call it now, is tracking their time, tracking how much time they're spending on economic development and opportunity, and compared to what they're tracking the time that they're spending on tourism and visitation and TRT. And then from what I understood from our previous conversations, once we have a handle on that, then the diversification, the economic diversification and opportunity monies is going to come from general fund. And then the economic, the you know, tourist, TRG and all that will be under what was Elaine's topic? What was Marion's topic?
Marion was travel council director, but then we switched Elaine to economic development as well, and that was August, and then we
So we
in
could go,
August, we lost the economic diversification dollars and just never changed the name of that department back.
so it's travel council department predominantly, and that's what they're spending almost 90% of their time on. They're spending it on travel council things. And then a small portion so that we can get, and it's a significant amount of funding needs to be spent on economic opportunities so we can get those grants. It will be just, you know, so if we want to move on, I think.
Good, actually, so I wanna,
So I.
we're kind of getting into the solutioning part of this, but I want to make sure as you're okay with what I've just relabeled this, 'cause we've come from the first sentence, remove economic diversification, we were gonna wipe that out, then it's clear that it's still important. So maybe we can disagree on how I've written this and see if that is okay. I just develop a new policy position, maybe position doesn't need to be there, policy and plan for economic opportunity / diversification. Maybe I even move the general,
Remove diversification. It's
remove
become
that.
diversification. It's become a hot issue.
Okay.
It will shut down
But you,
communication.
okay, but you made the comment about from the general fund, so it's not TRT. Is that,
Yeah,
want to leave
correct.
that in this description right here as a, then let's prioritize this new statement. I'm here, that's gonna be pretty hot. So you got an eye here,
Yeah, I did.
Medium.
and we got,
Aye.
we got 3 highs.
I still don't think it belongs on the list, but I'm okay with the sentence. I think we should do that, but I don't, doesn't feel like a budget item with a price tag to me.
Does feel more like a policy than price to me also,
That's
but
why
I'd
I
give
say
it
medium or low.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would,
I don't
I would
want,
give it an N/A.
We're not gonna come to consensus on this one.
give it a medium for me.
All right, well, we're gonna go. Let's, since it's my meeting, I'll leave it on the list, but put it as a medium and then just if it's be on the list, and obviously we're gonna have to learn how to disposition this.
Okay.
Okay.
Pickleball, let's go to something easier.
Great.
Pickleball.
oh, you must be.
Whoa. Whoa. Marriott was cleared and went after you.
No, isn't that taken care of?
I think we're all good.
I thought we were all good on that too.
As
That was,
far
my
as I
understanding
know
was,
from Moses,
yeah.
I think we've already committed to funding 50% of that, so that's not really applicable for
Yeah.
future budgets.
have we actually voted on funding this?
Yeah.
So we voted on accepting the grant funds 4 meetings ago.
Right, I thought we had.
I know it came
But
up.
I do believe that you're correct though, Bill. I'm not sure that we've ever actually said exactly which fund or account the money was gonna come from. I think it was gonna come
Seemed
from
like it
capital
was quite a
facilities.
bit.
650, 750, yeah.
That's right.
So,
But I do remember Mallory talking about it coming out of the capital funds project.
I think we need to look at where this is coming from during the budget meetings for sure.
All right, so it's not a priority setting, maybe it's just a follow-up. See what
Once-
money's coming from.
Once we get, everybody's on board and agrees that this is moving forward, then we need to go to like a design phase and an RFP and then eventually construction, so.
Yeah, where's the money coming from?
Okay, so we're okay with this one, not prioritizing it, just. Okay. Now this one is an interesting one, 'cause it's just very specific and very just, tact. Replace the library's HVAC. It's 4 of the 7 units are gone out and here goes some of them. You guys are in this.
I'm wondering why, when we've just seen a fairly substantial tax increase out of the library, that's not coming out of their budget.
To say they're their own taxable entity.
So why is it on our list, I guess?
It's our building.
I think.
That's our
And
building.
Sean's department takes care of the exterior stuff. And I don't know what that agreement looks like, but. And I haven't seen Sean's whole list either of like which roofs need what.
Did this just come out of the recent, is this the one that came out of the recent storm?
Think so.
It was already, these were already on the outs.
There was one heat pump that was, it wasn't actually the storm, it was the two power surges before the storm.
Okay.
And Sean and I have discussed about submitting that to the insurance and seeing, and that can, we've talked about it being an emergency purchase. That's still in the works.
Okay.
I don't have a resolution on that yet. But that's only
Just-
one unit.
Just as that agreement goes, we take care of the building. That's our end.
I don't know the ins and outs of whether it's the inside, the outside, how that all goes, but it's, we've often seen
It's kind of like the
library
lot,
repairs, like to the roof and stuff on our capital projects. It's
isn't,
not that this is.
isn't it the same with the museum? We own the building.
We own the building, yes, yeah. So I think, yeah, we're responsible for the building and then they take care of everything
And I
inside the building.
think we might still be paying for the library. I'm not 100% sure.
They were close to it, but I'm not sure.
Anyway, are those 4 units? Could be critical if they don't work.
I think that I would assume that being half of them was trying to like, I would
Get-
assume they
be
probably all
proactively.
could use
Yeah,
replacing.
yeah. So,
They were like,
yeah.
let's just tackle that.
get out in front of it. It's probably a high,
I would defer to Sean
yeah.
on the, but I think that it's important to keep up with our buildings. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Maintenance, they tend to end up worse.
Right,
All three of these next three, are maintenance
Yeah.
related, I think.
Yeah.
And so I'm even asking the question from a policy perspective on budgeting for 2025. I would say like, if you can convince our facilities director that it's needed, we probably need to find funds for it.
Right.
In all three of these cases, and if it's a want to have.
They're fairly safety related, especially the fire suppression.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, in this case, since we are prioritizing, maybe let's just put these at medium, the question, defer to facilities input or something like that.
I think that's a good idea.
for all 3 of those you're proposing, Steve. I know Angie's talked about the fire suppression system over at Osta since I was on that board 3 years ago.
It's gonna be on her.
Yeah.
Almost on the top of her list.
Right.
Is what I assume.
And it's expensive.
It is.
Remember,
Yeah.
that's why it has.
I think it was like
yeah.
$250,000, right? Was that right? I think that was a couple
I
years
think
ago.
it was more than that.
Might have been more than that,
Yeah.
right?
I thought she was into the 400,000 on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it was when I was on in 2021, so it's
I mean, and
probably gone up significantly.
like Bill said, I mean, it's a concern on safety. It's,
Yeah.
we're starting to finally use the building enough, or, the grounds.
Yeah.
I would like to remain safe.
Before I jump over the EOC, because I'm not sure what specifics are here, is there any other unique requirement in the EOC? An
There's-
update that I maybe don't know about?
There's some departments sharing space out there. And some of them have some more higher security needs. And it's another one of those, do we want the gold standard? Are we on a champagne budget or are we on a ramen budget, And so it's like, is it padlock the key or is it, and so I think those are some of I think it's one of the things that we would all like to address, but we're gonna have to pick and choose. To what standard.
Okay, well, on the EOC, I'm gonna put not only safety concerns, but security. So,
And there was previous talks of partnerships,
Right.
et cetera. So it's a source issue just as much as.
yeah. Well, I think this is good for right now on these types of things, but I don't know how it's been done in the past, but I know in the 2025 budget planning, I want the department heads to put what they think they need to spend next year. Maybe
Right.
it'd be an emergency situation.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think that needs to be number 20, like we did on the other one, is begin
Plan.
saving,
Yeah, start saving and
start saving,
yeah.
develop a,
put
Public
some
safety
money away.
building. Again, I really think we need a plan before we.
Yeah.
Plan to make the plan.
yeah, I think that goes in the same category as the
And we need, but no
County
matter
building.
what, it's gonna cost us more money to do it in 1 year, so we should be starting to get money way
Yeah, but
saved for it.
So it's number 12 right here, or number 12, and there's a copy.
Yes.
Paste that whole section.
I think so. Those two, like Mike said earlier, those two also are interrelated because if we do, say we do a public safety building, then that frees up a lot of space in the courthouse. And
Half this building goes to.
yes, we probably wouldn't do both. We'd do one or the other.
vice versa, if we move out of here, they could just have it store.
That's what we talked about before.
Right, certainly.
Okay. Well, no, that's great. That is definitely part of the overall facilities.
I'd almost put 20 and 12, bump them into the same line item.
Yeah. I'll just join
Even
that.
the EOC.
Although if they need some
I was like, that's the part that's
improvements.
Yeah, it will be part of it. Or hopefully it will be.
Okay, we're nearing the end. We have 15 more minutes. Revise emergency operations plan.
What, did that come from
I thought-
Cora? Cause I thought we
I
did,
thought we started.
we passed it. Yeah, I thought we did that last year. We
And
definitely,
Isn't she working on it?
She just walked by.
I know she
Oh,
did.
that's-
I noticed that too, and I saw it, yeah.
Probably should get some update.
Yeah, we'd want to talk to Cora.
Before we, okay,
Yeah,
I'm meeting with her this week, so I'll do that.
great. Yeah, because we definitely did work on an emergency operations plan last year because we needed, I thought we passed it anyway, because we need to update it every 5 years. At least to be in compliance with FEMA, and I know we did that last year, but maybe she's talking about doing a complete
But there's
revision.
also all different kinds of emergencies,
Right.
you know, there's like the FEMA kind of ones, but
Right.
there's also like what's happening here locally. And I don't know if this gets into like our dispatch kind of stuff, but I think some clarity.
Okay, I'll take that action.
Yeah.
Repaid Sand Flats Road.
Did that grant not come?
No, not this year.
Oh, it didn't come through. Okay, so you guys are just talking about reapplying for that grant.
I think it might actually, I think that you apply every 2 years, but projects are selected every year or something like that.
I know we applied for 2 years in a row. We definitely applied for that 2 years in a row.
Maybe this was the second year, then. Maybe it was, I feel like there was something where it was like, if you had already applied, it just like carried over.
Dan revised the application considerably because it actually was for quite a bit more and for a bigger scope last year than it was for the first year. But anyway, I'd rate it as a low myself, but that's just me.
I know they've been wanting it for a while, and if the opportunity came up, we should maybe have a place for it to one day.
But is this a
Not very
budget,
critical,
but is it a budget item? I mean, what's our share of the, or is it just grant money?
I think the original raise grant was close to 100%, wasn't it?
Mhm.
So it's not really a budget priority of any sort.
It doesn't sound like it's a priority for us then.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, I wanted to know, just to go back to the evidence tech, when Jameson presented that, commission approved the school safety position and not the evidence tech.
Oh, remember, because we had to.
Right.
It was a unfunded mandate by the state.
So the evidence tech could be on the list for next year.
Okay, number 23, assess impact fees and capital facilities plan.
I put that at approved. Every year we haven't updated the impact fees,
It hurts us, yeah.
yeah.
No, and that's gonna get done.
Yeah, I got one critical.
I think it's critical. I think it's pretty important.
Good. All right.
Yep,
critical.
that's definitely.
24, this one's probably joint number 12 and 20. Or is this could be different? No, this could be different.
I think it's
because
different.
they fund it.
This one's different, I think.
Because of, we're gonna have to put some skin in the game. But I think the funding is available next year
From the state.
from the state. Yeah.
Research that, find out how much funding is available.
I think so we might wanna. I'll call her tomorrow, but I know a lot of it is you apply for what you need. And
Well,
then
we're gonna
there's so
apply
much
for champagne.
There's so much for the state, and then you get either everything you ask for or a portion.
And our cost estimated is to put it, right? Land.
Well,
It wasn't
it wa-
cost, it was
it was when I was speaking to the person from the state about it, it was like, if you provided the land, then probably the chances of the grant funding be totally funded. But if you're buying the land, then the grant is gonna come close to funding the building. So there was more of a discussion, it's the only way that it's gonna happen, is if we can, because the land's so expensive. Just. So priority, it's
Yeah.
high,
Where is the Children's Justice Center now?
it's right next to, it's part of the Christmas box house.
Oh, yeah,
Shut
right,
down.
okay.
That's right, building.
And they're having a real problem, we granted the, but we did the money to fix the, the soundproofing it, and they're finding that because the way the building's built, there's not any way to really soundproof it. And so, we want it to be an adequate, good facility. We're going to have to probably put it, either find a place we can put it where we can soundproof it, or rebuild it. Right now, we have monies to do that. So maybe what we need to do is a plan. Yeah.
I'm confused by just immediately jumping into building, and so I agree with this.
This plan.
Feasibility plan and the
Feasibility,
whole
yeah.
ROI.
We have to start at the ground zero pretty much, right?
And I'll get a hold of her.
Then Alicia commented on the emergency operations plan. Last year, our plan was not gonna pass muster at any sort of higher level, so we updated the tiny little portion that made it so we didn't fail, we passed. But the entire plan needs to be updated, it's ancient.
Okay. So then we'd have to get a, so we'd have to get a contractor basically to, for a specialist. Problem.
All right, well, let's do that. But even now that we've kind of reduced it to develop a plan, a needs-based plan, and find out how much state funding is available, we're still medium, low, just high.
On Children's Justice Center?
Children's Justice Center.
Yeah.
I think it's high. Yeah,
High.
that's important.
Update Trails Master Plan.
I'd like to see if that, I really thought that the, P and Z got a grant at the last minute for that, but I'd like to check on that first.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, Jock, I vaguely remember that as well, so we should check, but probably this already has funding lined up and it can be removed from the list.
Yeah. I know it was quite a high priority for, active transportation and trails last year, and that's why they went out looking for that money. I think it wasn't it last year originally in PNC's budget, and then we cut it. We were talking about budget costs, and then they found a grant that would cover almost all of it.
Okay.
We don't remember that.
I remember a lot of these conversations, but I got so many things.
Right. Anyway, yeah, let's
say something that'll.
yeah, let's look into it.
So before we put a priority, let's just see where we're at.
Yes.
It's already funded.
Mhm.
It's a good point. Okay. Well, the last two were to open up details of prior lists, but they're so long, and complex.
Yeah.
I could suggest we open it up and look at it just for a second,
Yeah,
see if
yeah.
that jumps out of your. All right, so I have them open here.
Phil, that several of the points we just talked about are gonna be on
I think so.
Yeah.
too.
several people's lists.
Might be kind of hard to see, but this is some nice work with Mallory. Let me just kind of scroll through it, and I'll pause right here, and then if anything just jumps out, just follow it.
Caveat, when I looked at this, it was the first time I'd ever seen it. Mallory never shared this with anyone, so.
Okay.
Well, actually, the first one is all about the Spanish Valley, the youth pathway. So we talked about that pickleball playground court, impact fees. facilities planning, I think we highlighted that one as well. Maybe just, all right, look at any of these miscellaneous and see if anything jumps out at you.
Not to take up your time, could you read off the list? Cause I
Oh,
can't.
I'm
read.
sorry, social media policy and account rollout, fire department annexation.
That's hopefully done.
That one, really need to find where we're at, correct?
We're rolling forward. It's going.
They passed
Okay.
it. The Fire commission passed it, what we said.
Fire department annexation.
In progress right now. We're in the middle of it.
Oh, it's going, okay. And you guys just tell me if you want me to write it down. MVF, I don't know.
Oh, I bet like.
Valley Fire, yeah.
Oh, that's, that was the.
BG grant, that's the one that.
We tried for it and they
Right.
didn't get it.
Yeah, we
They
didn't
didn't
get
get it.
Didn't happen. CIB project list. All right, so I think CIB project list is another spreadsheet that's got probably 100 items on it.
Yeah, we don't.
We updated that recently, though, so.
Do not have to dive into that right now.
Yeah.
We narrowed that down.
Right.
Of how many, but
To 10.
Okay, let me go to this next worksheet then. I have to kind of drop it down, and go up. I think EV charging stations. Actually, there's so much on here, I think it's not gonna be useful for us to
Okay.
try to go through this in the 5 minutes we have remaining.
It is,
But
it
I
is
did- I
quite
did-
similar though.
Yeah, and I think we did cross-reference it together to make sure our summary kind of embedded everything that was here. So, folks, I think that's what I needed to get out of this. I will clean up my notes a little bit, publish that as in our 2025 budget cycle folder. We'll come back to this when we get to the point where we have to start making budget decisions for 2025.
Awesome.
I think most everything was critical of mine.
I know it.
I think we had one low.
I loosened
We
my
didn't have a
rules on.
medium.
We had a few meetings.
Wait, did we have a medium?
There's a couple of.
Oh, we had the mediums on the list.
Oh, we paid for that already?
But still, I think the conversation even is good for informing
I
your,
agree.
yeah, your, going forward and making these decisions in the future for sure. Yeah, it's also nice just to, yeah, you're new, we're going into the budgeting season. I think it's a great start. So thank you, Steve.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right.
appreciate it.
All right, then I will close this special workshop and we'll reconvene at 4 o'clock for our regularly scheduled Grand County Commission meeting.